loads.
Drinking with Authors may contain adult content. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, Nick Savage here, author, artist, person of the day, or something like that, to host Drinking with Authors, sponsored by Four Horsemen Publications. We have a great author with us tonight. I've actually done some work for this gentleman as well, making him a nice glow-in-the-dark t-shirt. And behind him, because this is a man who knows how to promote his books, he's got some wonderful posters of his work. Lucas Lamont, author of the Omegaverse. We have Steven's Second Chance Part 2 right behind him. Not in the Omegaverse. We have Grabbing a Slice of Minnesota Nice. But tell us about your books.
Yeah, hi. Really excited to be here. Glad to be back on Drinking with Authors. Yeah, so I'm kind of known for making these posters in the back. Four Horsemen absolutely loves these, and I don't know why more authors don't do that, but I love putting my book covers on my wall. I absolutely love them. So yeah, we have Steven's Second Chance Part 2. That is the latest in my Chronicles of Fate series, which is an Omegaverse series and Mpreg series. I love explaining that one to everyone.
No, explain it, because here's the thing. You write in very specific genres, and which is for a very targeted audience. So explain away for anyone who doesn't know either of those.
Yeah. So Omegaverse is essentially a almost kind of like a dominant sub-relationship that actually spawned out of fantasy fiction online. And basically what became of it is this idea that people could basically become personas. So when people think like an alpha male or even an alpha female and everything, all the traits that get that could actually be honed into a person. And then their counterparts, their submissive omegas, is what they are called, basically trying to find each other in the universe. And that's called a fated mate. Since that has taken off like wildfire, this whole dominant sub alpha omega relationship, it has sparked into so many different genres. The one that I found by complete accident is the one that I write. And that would be the Mpreg fiction, where it's actually about where instead of women having children, it is actually men who have them. And my series also has the other adage of the fact that instead of humans being, if you believe in the science that we are evolved from apes, mine believe that we are actually evolved from wolves. So there are actually a lot of, I guess I would say, animalistic wolf traits that come into play throughout these stories with the individual characters in the series as a whole. So,
very nice. Before I ask you the next question, because I have one specific one in mind, what are you drinking with us tonight?
Oh, I am having, I guess, what they would call a festive Shirley Temple, Dirty Shirley, and I even went full out and I put gummy bears at the bottom of my drink, so I'm going to be having fun with those later by the time that I'm done with this.
Can you tell us what's in that drink?
So, I love the holidays because that's when the stores will just carry the 7-Up brand of Shirley Temple. You don't have to buy the grenadine and make it yourself. And then you just add a little bit of vodka into it. And then you put the gummy bears at the bottom and everything, and they kind of soak into the drink. And then you get a very nice gummy surprise later when you are done with your drink. Essentially, that's where all the booze goes.
That's where, yeah, it soaks up into the gummy bears, which is really nice, actually. I have a friend who will make like gummy bear flavored vodka and just fill a jar with like gummy bears and vodka, and so they all soak up. I'm just doing like a Coke and rum, but it's like a vanilla rum that I got the bottle from a guy who was moving out of my neighborhood, and it's like this vanilla rum from like Barbados. I don't know where. It is so not an American rum, and it is so delicious.
I was going to say
Um,
vanilla rum is not something I normally hear.
yeah, no, it's absolutely wonderful. So it's like a rum and Coke, but a rum and vanilla Coke. So I'm very happy about that. Didn't think I'd like it as much as I do. So the posters behind you, since authors are always looking for ways to promote and do themselves, where did you get those from?
Printer pics. I don't. I don't know if it was just like a random Google search that I found it, or if somehow it was trying to contact me and everything, but I just kind of did some searching and I got, whatever that fabric is. I don't know if it's vinyl or something, but it's that special fabric that's stretched over a canvas. So,
and it's
so
actually it's
really,
on
really good. Yeah. What?
It's on like a canvas frame.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they're not cheap, but I absolutely love it. If there's one thing, I mean, there are many things I appreciate about Four Horsemen, but one of my favorite things is the attention to detail that they have done in my book covers for not only my romance series, but my Minnesota book as well. The artwork just it's just so awesome to look at. And I'm very, very proud of it. And so I love showing it off in my home. So,
no, and you should be proud of it. That's your work, man. Yeah. No, wonderful. So you asked something. We try and keep things light, so I'm not trying to dive too deep here. But you said if you believe in the science that we descended from apes, where do you stand on that? Are you not an evolutionist?
I tend to believe like a lot of scientific concepts. I just don't want to, I guess, impose the beliefs onto others. So I guess I was tiptoeing around it a little bit.
No.
But I mean, I can fully grasp the concept that, that we evolved, from apes, to the cavemen type of thing. And then, from the Neanderthals we once were to the Neanderthals we are today. I suppose we're not that different.
No. It was just kind of a peculiar way that you worded that. So I was just wondering, but no.
I think it's all of my years of being a former teacher. It's me always being PC, so I think sometimes that rears its ugly head when I say things, and I'm just trying to please the masses.
No, that's okay. You can please all the people some of the time, and some of the people all the time, but never all the people all the time. So it is that old adage. Have you always wanted to be a writer, be an author?
I have. I was a storyteller from a little kid. I remember when I was in third grade specifically. I don't know why this was a thing, but my third grade teacher had it to where every student in my class was required twice a year to get up in front of the class and tell a story, and they could do it one of two ways. They could make up a story on their own, or they could just take a book and read, a few pages from it for somewhere around like a 5 to 10 minute time, however long they were wanting to do it. But that was like a requirement that we had to get up in front of class and do it. And, for anyone else, that would be equivalent to, saying, okay, time to get up in front of class and give a speech. And so many people have that fear and trepidation around that. Not me. I think I did it like 13 times by the time that the end of the school year was done. And the only reason I know that number for sure is because we had this poster that was right next to the whiteboard. It had all our names on it and the number of stars that we had for how many times we actually did it, because that's how the teacher kept track of it. So, here's all the stars for everybody else. Here's all the stars next to my name for it. But the interesting thing about that is I honestly don't think any of those times that I did that back in third grade, I ever retold a story from a book or anything. I made up every single story that I got up and said in front of the class. And so it was just kind of like a natural thing for me that I just kind of slowly honed over my lifetime. The funny thing is, the first book that I wrote, Roman's Reckoning, which is the first book in the Chronicles of Fate series, that was the first book that I ever completed. I had this really horrible curse of like not finishing stories that I wanted to write. And then for some reason, that was the book that did it. That was the very first book that I wrote from beginning to end. And I don't take this lightly. I know how very, very fucking lucky I am that the very first book that I wrote is the very first book that I got published. So
it is very hard. Now I know we're both with the publisher, if not more than one. Do you recommend that authors try and get with the publisher, or would you say in today's environment and that they just self-publish?
I think honestly, it just depends what you're after. I'm not here to be an author so I can say that, you know, I'm a professional, or, you know, I have a contract, or, you know, I'm a famous author or anything. I'm an author because I love to write. And I didn't necessarily care how that got to audiences. I just wanted it to be there. And for me personally, I wasn't going to go through a publisher. I actually kind of found Four Horsemen by complete accident. The whole thing, I guess, was just serendipitous, and I guess just fate. I personally did not want to go through the process that I hear everybody goes through. It's just constant rejections. Everybody telling you, yeah, your book is good, but no. Yeah, your work is great, but no. And I was like, I don't have time for that. I'm not interested in that. That being said, there are a lot of benefits of having a publisher, of course. But if somebody is like just trying out and seeing if they're trying to get the material out in the world, there are just so many ways you can do that on your own. You can self-publish, you can just upload it online. There are groups that talk about that are dedicated to that. The number of fan fiction sites are out there if you're into that. There are places for you to get your work out there and be heard. But there are people who are looking for that validation. They're like, no, if I'm an author, that means I have to have a publisher. I guess my only advice there is don't give up. You are good enough. It's just somebody has to be the right person to say yes.
Well said. So on the topic of writing, because you've been writing a while, so you've taken some time to, you know, hone the craft. How organized are you when you're writing a book?
You know, and I think this is probably one of the biggest reasons why Roman's Reckoning was the first book that I finished. It was the first time to where I didn't just take an abstract concept and then just keep it all in the back of my head. And then for like 6 months, just go, oh yeah, I remember I was going to do that scene, or, oh yeah, I wanted my character to say that and everything. I think that was a lot of issues for me personally when I first started writing, because I would get to about page 100 in my writing and then go, where was I going to go with this book? And you know, there are some authors who can do that, and God bless them that they can, but I can't do that anymore, to where I just have this story in my head and just keep it up there and just keep typing and just pray that it all works out. I actually have like my little Excel document, and I kind of draft out each chapter and just a few bullet points of what's happening with each character or important things that I want in each of them. And what I really liked about that, doing that process, was two things. First, one, I knew what the hell I was doing in each chapter, and so I didn't have to say, oh no, I don't know what's actually happening in this story anymore. And two, every chapter is intentional. I have to say there are some books that I have read, even in the Mpreg Omegaverse from other authors, to where you are reading 20 pages of nothing because they just thought it was good for you to know what the character did that day, like, you know, that they ran errands. It was like, wait, what was this for? So after I read a book like that, I was like, I want to make sure every single chapter has a point. Every single page pushes this story forward. And doing that outline really keeps me focused and really makes sure that the content is entertaining and still of interest to continue to read. So I don't have those boring chapters.
No, exactly. Like they always, like every class, that I've taken, or every book that I've read about the writing process, is that every word on the page should be moving the story forward. So if you're reading 20 pages that has nothing to do with the story, those pages shouldn't be in the book. And that's just kind of, and there will be people who disagree. It's an art, and art is subjective and all that stuff. But from a critical standpoint of wanting the story to move forward, if it's not moving the story forward, which is what a book is about, it's about a story, it shouldn't be in there. When you write, some writers famously like to have a glass or a bottle or two of wine when they write. I thought I turned off my phone. Is there anything that you must have when writing, whether it be food, drink, or music, that you're always doing?
So I really like to get myself cozy, like on a couch, you know, prop up, you know, a pillow behind my back, you know, got a nice blanket on top of me and everything. And then set music. Though the interesting thing is when I write, music has to be two things. I can't know what the song is. Like I can't like play like my favorite, you know, playlists and everything. And it can't be somebody who is singing, so it has to be instrumental music. Otherwise my ADD all of a sudden just takes my brain and puts it in a different dimension, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm singing to my favorite songs and, you know, thinking about other things other than my writing. And I found that out the hard way too many times. So it has to be like instrumental music. So I actually listen to a lot of like lo-fi music.
Nice.
When I write, because it really does just keep the noise in the background enough for me to, you know, keep my brain focused, but not enough to where all of a sudden it's like, wait, what am I doing? Oh yeah, writing a book. So
if you are ever looking for some new instrumental music, the website bandcamp.com has a lot of really good instrumental artists on there as well. It has all sorts of music on there, but as far as like finding new unheard instrumental stuff, whether it be lo-fi, electronic, or whatever, they got some cool stuff. I don't get money from them. I just thought I would share that with you.
yeah.
If you could have a pet, fictional, real, illegal, legal,
Oh my.
and it couldn't be a wolf, since you write in that series, what would it be?
Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of like how mythical I want to go. I mean, like dragons are so cool. I mean, they're so classic. I mean, like, how do you not like say something like that? But at the same time, I feel like everybody says they want a pet dragon.
But where would you store it? The size of an actual dragon in today's world, it would take up a 4,000 square foot home.
Well, I don't know. There's like, you know, like mini dragons, you know, like there's min pins, mini
like
dragons.
Just like a baby dragon, and drop it into the woods as it gets bigger.
Like yeah, are there like mini cats or something? I don't know.
No, I will give you dragon. I will say that you have, if you can have a dragon, you can have a place large enough to keep him. It's, you know, we will go with that.
Well, in my fantasy world, since I'm choosing a fantasy creature, it's a mini dragon.
It's a mini dragon. Just a
mini dragon. Yes.
That's cool. Kind of sit on your shoulder like a parrot and a pirate.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. And he's potty trained too, so you don't get any dragon stuff on you. Yeah. Writers do this and we're all notorious for it. So I want to know if you've done it. Has anyone ever pissed you off enough in real life to make it into one of your books? Or have you ever loved anyone enough to make it into one of your books as a character or inspiration for a character type thing?
This drink is great.
Are we not going to answer that question? I can share one with you if you would like, and I'll give you an example so that way you're not running. I was writing one of the Fairlane books, and I was doing it at like a Books a Million, and I was watching this lady just stare at me, and I was sitting by the window, so it looked like she was staring at me as I was writing, and she had this look on her face. And I think it was just kind of like resting bitch face. You know what I'm saying? Like one of those people that just looked like they were angry when they were eating or resting. And the funny thing is I wrote this whole scene in the book where she interacts with the main character and she's kind of a bitch and blah, blah, blah. And in real life, the lady ended up being like really nice. Like she had some interaction with someone, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, ended up being like a really nice person. Then she sat down and went back to like eating, and she just looked mad again. And it was just like her face when she was eating kind of had like this like perturbed, almost like, like look to it that looked angry. So it was just, and she was staring past me out the window. And so, but she made it into the book. But it was just one of those things. I'd never remember her face or what she looked like or anything like that. But she made it in. I've also had other people I know, like old coworkers, make it in as bartenders and stuff in the scenes. But have you ever done anything not quite as vindictive as what you were not wanting to tell?
Oh boy. All right. So I guess this is the whole reason for the podcast here. So let me take one more drink here. All right. There are people who know my book series, my Omegaverse series. It is actually based on specific people. So there are people who inspired the characters who are in this book. Not all of the people know who they are. So I have not divulged that information because if that information were to come out, I would want to talk to them first before everybody else found out.
So asking their names is not going to happen? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not going to happen. But one thing that I will say is interesting is what I didn't anticipate was I actually have a sequel that's coming up in the series for my Chronicles of Fate that is actually the entire book is inspired by one person. And it was kind of honestly by accident to where my series, because it's called the Chronicles of Fate, it actually follows different characters in different books. And then when I was actually writing part one, I was actually dating a bartender, and coincidentally, that book started while I was writing it, while I was in a bar dating a bartender, and that was purely coincidental because I already had the outline written before I met him. But like literally, like as I was writing, like my life was unfolding with this book at the exact same time. I actually stopped writing the book for like 2 months because I'm like, this is getting freaky. way too freaky. But since that relationship has passed on, actually, that is actually going to be the basis for a future book of mine. So it is kind of interesting what my therapist says. Don't piss off an author.
Well, exactly. I mean, like we have the power of, words to slay people with, but do you keep it far enough removed from the person you're basing it on that if they read it, they couldn't be like, these things happen in that order, or do you keep it pretty much to a T? How
I
vindictive
would
are you?
say,
That's what I'm asking.
I think all authors, can say, if somebody randomly went up to an author and said, "This person is me in your book," every single author knows the answer to that, and the answer is no, because the character is bigger than the person that it is inspired on. And once the character hits the page, they have taken on their own life, their own persona, and they're not the person that they're based off of anymore. And so there really truly is no, that is actually you in the book, because that's not life. That's not how it works. We created it. This is all our POV, and that's not how life works. But that being said, there is one particular person, like when they were reading my books, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that moment. So, I mean, I think if the right person looked and they knew, they would be able to definitely identify with the persona, or maybe even a couple of the conversations that some of the characters have. But I personally believe that when I read these, yes, it is very much removed from the person that it's inspired by, to where, I'm not literally, just, writing something out of spite, just to put somebody in a book, so that the people can, know who this person really is and what I think of them. No, it's not that close.
When it comes to reading or even watching movies, what tropes are some of your biggest pet peeves, or a trope that'll make you just either DNF a book or turn off a movie or a show? If you need a for example, I can give you mine.
Yeah, go for it.
I tried watching, I love sitcoms, but not just any sitcom. I'm very particular about what I watch, because, and I can't remember what sitcom it was, but I tried watching a sitcom, and it's a very common trope in sitcoms. The kids are geniuses or like hyper intelligent, and the parents are just dumb as shit and completely clueless. And I understand that they exaggerate, because a lot of the times the sitcoms are from like the child's kind of, not point of view, but more angled that way, of like the child's life and stuff like that. But I absolutely hate if a parent is clueless and they have a kid who knows more than them, because as much as kids think that in life, it's just not how it is. So if I see something like that, I tend to be like, it was a one episode and done for me.
I think the biggest thing for me is I like to, besides the fact that, I'm writing about, men who evolve from wolves and can get each other pregnant and have kids and all that jazz, I like to write in realism.
I can tell by the wolves and seahorsemen. Yeah.
And so I think one of the biggest tropes that I have is, I hate to shit on Hallmark, but I'm going to, those Christmas movies to where, characters hate each other in the beginning, but then they just live happily ever after, at the end of the hour and 45 minutes and everything. I just don't write that way. Do the characters in my book get happily ever afters? Yes, but I definitely make a point to put in there that, the costs of what it took to get there, and that the characters remember that. Because I just feel like that is something that I can be content with. Because I gave up on the Disney ending a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so I'm just not interested in reading that. And I will admit that there have been a lot of really, really good angsty romance books that I have read, that all of a sudden they get to that last chapter and it just seems that everybody's personality just got completely washed away, and they all love each other and happy, and they sing and dance off into the sunset. And I'm like, okay.
It kind of is a cop out on the ending, that you feel like it's a cop out in the ending that should have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wonder, it's like, how much pressure do authors feel to write an ending like that? I mean, like, especially in romance, it's like, does an author feel compelled for a romance book at the end to have the happily ever after, or do they feel bound to that just because they're writing that genre?
Well, even in romance, there's so many different subgenres of everything, and then there's subgenres of subgenres and stuff like that. But like, I think they always say write for your audience, and for a long time, I was against that. I'm just give me a pedestal for a second here. I was against that because I was like, no, I want to write what I write and blah blah. And everyone's like, write what you want, and you will find your audience, and that is your audience, and that is who you're writing for. And it's kind of like if you write what you want, that's your audience. I have two different genres I write in. I have my romance, I have my sci-fi fantasy, and the audience I have in those genres is what I write, and they happen to like it. And it works with musicians, like a lot of the times. Biggest example was like when Metallica back in the 90s became really mainstream. Everyone's like, oh, Metallica sold out and I Will Die on This Hill. Metallica didn't sell out. They had changed their style because they wanted to, and it happened to be what people liked. So the mainstream came to Metallica, which is just an example of your audience finding you for writing what you like. And it even happened again with their latest one. Not my biggest fan. I'm not the biggest fan of the newest album, but it happened. And they are gaining, and so writers do it, and we write what we like, and then our audience finds us. But so I think there are those authors, to answer your question, who write with the intention of the happily ever after endings and the everything's all, wine and roses and stuff, because that's the audience they're writing for. I will never write that ending because that's not realistic. There's always highs and lows in life, and happily ever after implies that everyone's just pooping rainbows. It's just, to me, that's not, the realistic thing. So I think you're right in that, yes, some authors do strive for it, but other authors write what they want and their audience finds them. And there's nothing wrong with doing that either way. I guess. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I always ask this before we get to the self-promotion and stuff like that. If a new writer or a kid who wanted to become a writer asked you for advice, what advice would you give someone who wants to write?
Keep writing.
Keep writing.
Keep writing. Just don't stop. Whatever you feel you want to put on a page, keep going with it. And then when that is done, you get bored or you don't like it, pick up something new and keep writing. I don't look back at the stories that I didn't finish or didn't like or kind of got discouraged with what was actually there as the product as failures. Because if I had not done all those, I would not have gained the skills and perspective that I have as an author to get my first book published. So I am very, very happy that I did, the short stories as a kid, the poems as an angsty teenager, trying to get into, my own personal like romance, stories in my younger adulthood and everything that I still have that are not complete and everything. I'm so grateful that I did all that, because one day, for some reason, for Roman's Reckoning, the first book in Chronicles of Fate, it just clicked. And I didn't know that was going to be the one. And it just so happened that by the time that it was done, it was. And that's a journey that every single author is going to have to go through. But the only way you're going to get there is if you write.
For people who want to read your books, tell us where we can find you, socials, where we can buy your books. If you have any shows coming up, give us the skinny on it all.
Yeah. So I am at New Wolf Lamont, and that is on the Wix website. That is also the Instagram, and also following for the Facebook as well. And then my books are available wherever books are sold online. I've actually seen books sell at Walmart.com, Amazon, you name it. I have quite a few fans of the audiobook series. Chase Johnson is my narrator for my series. He is a great narrator.
I love
Absolutely
Chase's
him.
voice.
I know. He's fantastic. He actually is just finishing up my narration for Steven's Second Chance Part 2, which now is available ebook, hardcover, paperback, and soon the audiobook will be releasing for that as well.
Nice. And again, that is everywhere at New Wolf Lamont.
Yes.
Wikipedia, all the socials, and we can buy them everywhere. And also, we can buy them on the publisher site at fourhorsemanpublications.com. And I say that because the books tend to be actually a little cheaper there, and we get more royalties. I am saying that out loud.
Yes.
I have had a blast recording this today. I know it's taken us a couple times to get you on here, and I'm really glad that you stuck with it and that you pinged me and we got this going. Because for anyone who's watching right now, there was some miscommunication, and I thought he just forgot about it, and then all of a sudden I get a text, and he's like, "Hey, are we doing this?" And I was like, "Oh," but we did it, and we're here, and we finally got it to happen. And you are a gentleman and a scholar, and thank you for being here. And for everyone watching, thank you for watching with us. And I will see you next time. Until then, remember, it costs nothing to be kind. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Drinking with Authors. Join us next time for another fun conversation with an author over drinks.